Tonight, mixed messages from the White House. Trump's press secretary claiming the Maryland father who was deported to El Salvador was not deported by mistake.
We did not make a mistake. We have always maintained that this was an individual who needed to be deported from our country.
Of course, they have explicitly said it was an administrative error. It was a mistake as to why they deported him. That's at least what the press secretary said about Kilmar Abrego-Garcia's deportation earlier this month.
It was a clerical error. It was an administrative error.
Clerical error, administrative error. Now they're saying there was no error. Well, it also comes as a group of Democratic lawmakers are in El Salvador right now trying to ramp up pressure for the release of Abrego-Garcia to return for due process in the United States. CNN learning that as of now, the Democrats have been denied access to him. Of course, Senator Van Hollen was able to meet with him the other day. Out front tonight, Simon Sandoval-Moshenberg, the attorney for Kilmar Abrego-Garcia. And Simon, I appreciate talking to you again. Here we are now in this moment where the White House press secretary, who had said there was an administrative error and a clerical error at the beginning, that's what they said always was the reason that he was deported, and that's why they weren't defying a court order by not turning it around. It was a mistake. But now they say there was no mistake made in the deportation of your client. No mistake made. So what do you take away from this?
Yeah, they've said all kinds of crazy stuff from the White House press room. But in court, in the actual filings, they've never backed down from the initial statement that this was a mistake. And that statement was made not by the initial Department of Justice lawyer who was subsequently fired. It was made by an ICE district director in a sworn affidavit. So she can say whatever she wants from the press podium, but in court, they've admitted that this is a mistake under oath.
Right, and they haven't made any efforts to change that. I guess that's the important thing. All right, so the rhetoric, press rhetoric versus the legal reality, important to understand. Now, they do say, obviously, they maintain from the beginning that your client is a violent gang member and shouldn't be in the United States. They then also brought up the 2021 protective order that his wife put out against him. She ultimately did not pursue that, but there was a protective order. My colleague Dana Bash asked Senator Van Hollen, right, who met with Abrego-Garcia over the weekend. She asked him about whether he talked to Abrego-Garcia about the allegations against him, both gang and domestic abuse. Here's how the exchange went.
Can you say with absolute certainty that he is not, nor has he ever been a member of the MS-13 gang? And did you ask him point blank?
Well, Dana, what Donald Trump is trying to do here is change the subject.
Since you were the one person to have met with him, and since this is a thing, you say on social media, it's what we hear from Donald Trump and Republicans every day, all day long, you didn't ask him?
I didn't ask him that because I know what his answer is.
He also said at one point, he's not defending the person, he's defending he's not here to champion the person, he's here to champion the process and to champion rights. I'm just curious from your perspective, Simon, do you think it's a problem that Senator Van Hollen, who is right now the most prominent, publicly elected official speaking out on his behalf, who went down there, who met with him, that he is not able to directly answer these questions?
I don't think it's a problem because this is exactly why we need to bring him back and give him a fair trial. Kilmar Abrego-Garcia had a 2-day-long trial in 2019. He won that trial. The immigration judge granted him protection, and the government, the Trump administration at the time, decided not to appeal that case. And that's why he was released from detention. That's why he was given a work permit. And that's why he's been allowed to, live here and work here legally ever since. If the Trump administration is so confident that they've got this guy dead to rights, bring him back, put him on trial. That's what we do, right? I mean, if we do that all the time with Colombian drug lords in Colombian prisons, Mexican cartel leaders in Mexican prisons. If you think he's committing crimes against the United States, bring him back and put him on trial.
So when Trump posts, and I quote him, "We cannot give everyone a trial because to do so would take, without exaggeration, 200 years. What's your response to that, Simon?
That's not how any of this works in these United States. 5 out of the 10 amendments in the Bill of Rights have to do with fair trials and the judicial system. And as soon as we start taking trials away from one immigrant, it's a very, very short walk to taking trials away from you and me.
All right. Well, Simon, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And I'm glad to speak with you again.
Good to be back.